Life has a peculiar way of unraveling our carefully constructed realities. My story begins with what should have been a simple, forgotten laptop, a small oversight that would ultimately expose a web of deception I never saw coming. At 38, I thought I had finally found my person, the one who would help write the next chapters of my life. Rachel, not her real name, had been my partner for 5 years, and I was convinced she was the one I'd grow old with. Every 3 months, my friends and I would take weekend trips to a lakeside cabin. These getaways were our tradition, simple men's retreats filled with fishing, card games, and the kind of genuine conversation that only happens around a campfire. These weekends were sacred to us, a chance to decompress and give our partners some space. Well, that's what I thought anyway. That Friday started like any other day in my routine. I realized I left my laptop in my home office and decided to head back, a 4-hour round trip that seemed worth it for the essential device. On my way, I thought I'd surprise Rachel with dinner from our favorite Italian restaurant. It's funny how the smallest gestures of love can become daggers in retrospect. Walking into our house, I heard her laughing in the kitchen. The sound used to warm my heart. Now it freezes my blood when I remember what came next. As I approached, carrying our dinner, her phone conversation became clearer. Each word felt like a physical blow, each casual description of her infidelity, another crack in the foundation of everything I believed about our relationship. She was talking about her date from the previous night, describing intimate details that no partner should ever have to hear. The casual way she compared this stranger to me, the excitement in her voice as she discussed their encounter, these moments are burned into my memory. The food hit the floor before I even realized I'd dropped it. What followed was a blur of emotions and quick decisions. I remember pushing past her, grabbing my laptop, and walking out, all while she frantically tried to explain. But what explanation could possibly justify what I'd heard? How do you rationalize away such a complete betrayal of trust? I checked into a motel 2 towns over, somewhere she wouldn't think to look. The next few days were a tsunami of messages and calls, from Rachel, from friends, from family. I responded only to my closest friends and my mother, assuring them I was safe but needed space. Rachel's desperate attempts to reach me went unanswered. How do you respond to someone who just shattered your world? The worst part wasn't just the infidelity, it was the duration and the calculation behind it. During our eventual confrontation at a local bar, with my friend present for support, the truth emerged like poison from a wound. For 2 years, she had been using my weekend trips as opportunities for her own adventures. Her justification: she thought I might be cheating during these trips, so she was evening the score with her infidelities. The ring in my pocket during that conversation felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I had been planning to propose on our upcoming anniversary at the 4th of July cookout where we first met. Instead, I showed her the ring as a reminder of what she had thrown away. Her tears meant nothing to me by then. They were too little, too late. The practical aspects of separation were brutal. Our lease wouldn't let me off until October, meaning I had to continue paying for a home I couldn't bear to live in. My mother opened her doors to me, a 38-year-old man, moving back in with his mom. It wasn't ideal, but it was a safe harbor in a storm. Clearing out my belongings from our shared home was like archaeology of a dead relationship. Each item carried memories that now felt tainted. Despite my pain, I still cleaned the house before leaving. One final act of consideration for someone who had shown me none. Trust is like a mirror. It's not going to be the same, even if you piece every glass back together. Rachel's betrayal wasn't just about physical infidelity. It was about the systematic deception, the casual way she discussed it with others, the complete disregard for our shared future. Our mutual friends were shocked. The couple who had introduced us, who were going to host our engagement celebration, were particularly devastated. They removed Rachel from their 4th of July guest list, a small gesture that meant more to me than they probably realized. It wasn't about revenge, it was about acknowledging the gravity of betrayal. The first few weeks were a blur of alcohol and poor decisions. I'm not proud of how I handled some moments, flirting with random women at bars, drinking too much, letting my pain drive my behavior. But healing isn't linear, and sometimes you need to stumble before you can walk straight again. Work became my outlet. Every time my boss asked me would I be interested in overtime, I took it. Routine provided structure when everything else felt chaotic. My mother's presence was a constant reminder that family, real family, stands by you even when your world collapses. She never once questioned my need to stay with her or suggested I try to work things out with Rachel. A year has passed since that day in the kitchen. The pain hasn't disappeared entirely. I don't think it ever will, but it's different now. It's more like a scar than an open wound, a reminder of what I survived rather than what I lost. I've learned that sometimes the worst moments in our lives become turning points towards something better. The relationship I thought would last forever became a lesson in self-worth and resilience. The proposal that never happened became a bullet dodged rather than a dream destroyed. Looking back, there were signs I chose to ignore. The sudden interest in appearance for simple errands, the late nights at work, the declining intimacy, all classic red flags I dismissed because I trusted completely. But trust without verification is just willful blindness. I've learned that love shouldn't mean sacrificing your instincts or ignoring your gut feelings. That sometimes the kindest people can be capable of incredible cruelty. That strength isn't about never falling apart. It's about how you piece yourself back together. Today, I'm focusing on building a new life, one based on honesty, self-respect, and genuine connections. I'm not ready to date yet, and that's okay. Healing takes as long as it takes, and I'm no longer in a rush to fill spaces in my life with other people. The 4th of July is approaching again, and this year I'll attend that cookout, not as a man planning to propose, but as someone who survived the betrayal and emerged stronger. The ring I had bought sits in a drawer at my mother's house, a reminder not of what I lost, but of what I avoided. To anyone going through something similar, know that the pain eventually subsides. The world keeps turning, and one day you'll find yourself thinking about the betrayal less and less. Focus on yourself, maintain your dignity, and remember that sometimes the best response to betrayal is silence and forward motion. The story isn't over. It's just taking a different path than I had planned, and maybe that's exactly where I need to be. Looking back over this past year, I've discovered something profound. Pain, when properly processed, can be transformative. The betrayal I experienced forced me to confront aspects of myself I had long ignored. I realized I had built my entire identity around being the perfect partner, the one who cleaned, cooked, supported, and sacrificed. While these aren't negative traits, I had lost myself in the process of trying to be everything for someone else. The countless hours I now spend alone have become precious opportunities for self-discovery. Society often measures success in relationships by their longevity rather than their quality. I've had well-meaning friends suggest that 5 years together meant something was worth saving, that perhaps I should consider reconciliation. But I have learned that the true measure of success isn't in how long you can endure a broken situation, but in knowing when to walk away with your dignity intact. My definition of success has shifted dramatically. Today, success means maintaining boundaries, honoring my own truth, and modeling healthy relationship behaviors for my future self. It means acknowledging that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is start over. In the end, this journey has taught me that while we can't control others' actions, we always have control over our response to them. Every day, I choose to move forward with grace, to learn from my past without being imprisoned by it, and to remain open to the possibility of love while being wiser about who I trust with my heart.